Today marks the start of the third full week in November, which means this week we have Thanksgiving followed by Black Friday shopping. It also starts week 5 of my kitchen remodel that was supposed to take 2 weeks, but most importantly, Savage Interactive, the makers of Procreate, are going to release their new animation app, Procreate Dreams, on November 22nd. So I've had the Procreate Dreams beta for a few weeks now, which has kind of given me a chance to play around with it, get accustomed to it. So in today's video, we're going to take an overview look at everything. I'm going to walk you through where stuff's at, what you can expect when you open the app. We're going to take a look at the different ways of animating using the traditional methods with onion skinning and the flipbook. Then we're going to talk about the new way of animating with Procreate Dreams called performing, which is really, really cool. And then we're going to look at some non-traditional uses like the motion graphics you see in the background here. I'm going to show you how I did that. And then finally, I'm going to answer some of your questions that you posted in my previous Procreate Dreams London video. So that's all in today's video. Keep watching. All right, so here I am inside of the Apple App Store, which can only mean one thing. That's right, Procreate Dreams only available on the iPad. So just like the full version of Procreate before it, not available on Android or on Mac or on PC, you have to have an iPad. But that being said, there is some good news, and that is that Procreate Dreams is going to be compatible with a lot of different iPad models. So when I posted my previous video when I was in London for the Procreate Dreams announcement, I think that was probably the number one question, the number one concern that a lot of you had was, hey, is my iPad model even going to work with this app? Is this going to force me to have to go out and buy the latest 12.9-inch iPad Pro to even use this thing because I don't want to do that? And the answer is no, that's not the case. So Savage Interactive released this complete list of all compatible models. So definitely check that out. Now, this isn't without limitations. So some models have more possibilities, less limitations than others. So not only check your model, but also check the limitations, make sure you're good with those. And if you are, hey, cool. I know this kind of goes fast here, so I'll leave a link down in the description below to that complete list so you can check your model and make the decision for yourself. But like I said, November 22nd is the release date for Procreate Dreams. It's in the App Store right now because you can pre-order it, and it's only $19.99. Now, I didn't pre-order it yet just because once I hit that button and buy it, that price goes away, and I wanted you to see that price just because I wanted to highlight that. That's a one-time purchase. So kudos to Savage Interactive for keeping the you buy it once and you're done kind of business model like they started with Procreate. It's not subscription based. So there's no monthly subscription. There's no yearly subscription. That $19.99 is a one and done type of thing, which is really great. So thanks again to Savage for looking out for the artists. You guys are the MVPs for real. So that's it for the App Store look. Now let's hop over to the app to actually check it out and see what it does. And this is what you first see when you open up Procreate Dreams. So if you've used Procreate in the past, I'm sure this is going to look really familiar to you because this is basically the gallery view from Procreate when you first open that app. You've got all of your different projects here. And of course, since we're working with animation and video, the name's a little bit different. It's called the theater view, but everything still works the same. You've got all of your different projects or your movies right there. You've also got the select button here, and the plus button is to start a new project, make a new movie. So let's go ahead and hit that and show you the different options here for creating the new movie. First up, we have 4K widescreen. Sliding down, we have 4K ultra widescreen. Next up, we have 4K social with that vertical aspect ratio. The next one, we have the square 4K aspect ratio. And then finally, we have 4K screen size, which is just the iPad screen size. Down again brings us to 4K widescreen. If we hit empty, it's going to bring up a new project here. And we're ready to go. You can see there's nothing in here. It's completely fresh, completely empty. But I want to walk you through kind of the layout of stuff, and we need a little bit more to go off of, and we need that filled in down there. So let me pull up this one here, and we'll go over the user interface and explain what everything does. All right, so working from top to bottom, kind of going over the layout of everything. This is the stage area here. This is going to be the visible area of your project when you go to export it or you go full screen. This is going to be the only part that shows. This is going to be your final movie, your final project. Now you can see outside of the stage, we have other elements that extend past that stage area. This is called the backstage, and you can have other parts behind there. And this is a really powerful tool. It comes in really handy. Let's say if you're wanting to make a character walk across the screen and you've got a background element there. Let's say there's a forest and you want the character walking through the forest. Of course, you're going to want the forest then to move with the character, and you can have just a static image for your background that extends, really long here. And then as the character moves, you can actually then pan that backstage area across, so that backstage will move with your main character, and it's going to make that move across the stage. So we'll talk more about that here in a little bit, and I'll show you an example to explain it a little bit further, but let's keep moving down. Here we've got our time code. If we tap that, it brings up the stage options. First thing we can do is show or hide onion skin. The onion skin we'll talk a lot about in here in a little bit. It's basically the flip book. So it works with the frames. You can see the frames before or after your current frame to kind of help you with the traditional animation. You can also edit the onion skin. You can change the color of the onion skin, both backwards and forwards. So if your current frame is here and your backwards frames here, you can have those be red and your forward frames be blue. So it keeps those separated. And then you can also select how many frames of onion skin show up, and then also select the opacity for those frames. And then finally we have the background color. This, you can change the background to anything you want. Right now it's just set on transparent. Let's keep moving down then. Here, this is going to take you back to that theater view or that gallery view that we just looked at. If we hit this is going to be our movie settings. So it's called Spark. It's made by Buck. It shows you the duration, the resolution, and the frames per second, which is also found under the properties. And you can actually go in here and manually change these. You've got number pad there, and you can also change the width and the height, and then make it by yourself, put your name on there. Next up, we have stage. It's going to give you the option to blend the onion skins with the primary frame. Next down, we've got timeline. So loop, once it gets to the end of your movie, it's just going to start playing again from the beginning and just keep looping it. Ping pong, it's going to get to the end and just play it in reverse and then play it forward perpetually. And then one shot is basically just going to play it once and you're done. Share gives you the different options for export. We have video export options, good, better, or best quality. Frames as images, it'll export just the current frame or export the entire file as the Procreate Dreams file. And then we also have export functions here, the custom settings. Here you can change the video format from video to frames as images. We can change the video codec to H.264, HEVC, or ProRes, and ProRes has its own slew of settings as well. We can rescale the resolution, 720, 1080, or 4K, or you can do a custom. You can change the file container from movie to MP4, and then also change the audio, linear PCM, and AAC. Finally then, preferences here. Once you get into the drawing, you can put the brush size slider on the left or the right, just like Procreate, and then turn on or off dynamic brush scaling, adding keyframes to start, and then enabling timeline edit with finger. So that's a quick look at the different preferences there, or the movie settings that you can change. Moving over here then, we have the play button, which pretty self-explanatory. It's going to go ahead and play your movie, and you can see the bar moving right there. This is your playhead. You can also move that with the Apple Pencil as well. Next up, this little record button, this is performing. So instead of using the traditional animation route of drawing a frame, then using the flipbook, going to the next frame and the onion skin and drawing the next frame, with performing, it's actually going to record your movements across the screen. So if you have a static image, you can actually move that across the screen and it's going to record it. You don't have to do it frame by frame. That is really cool. Pretty powerful thing, which we'll dive into more here in a little bit. Next up, we have the timeline edit. This allows you to go in and select different areas of the timeline. We have the draw and paint option next. As you can see, once we hit that, brings up some pretty familiar looking icons here. If you've used Procreate before, same thing. We've got our brush. If we tap that, it brings up our brush library here. We can select different brushes. We can also import just like in Procreate. We've got our smudge tool with all our different brushes. Eraser, same thing. And then our layers. Here we can't open the layers because I'm on a group, but this is if you're drawing just like in Procreate and you want to add a new layer. Let's actually do that here. The next option here is to add a new track. So we're just gonna add a new content track here. And then I can go ahead and draw here. And then you can see here now, layers option opens up. We can make new layers. We do have blending options here to where it'll bring up the opacity slider and you have all of your different blending options just like we do in Procreate. However, the one thing that you don't have is when you hold down and bring up the extra options menu here, the layer options on the side, which has like clipping mask and your different things there, reference. Those aren't included here. You do have the option down here to add clipping masks to groups, but as far as drawing here, that is not something that you have here like you do in Procreate. So keep that in mind. Let me go ahead and delete that track there. So now we're back to what we had. And then finally, like I showed you, we have the plus button. That's how I added the content track. Or you can do video track, text, import from files, or import from photos. Now kind of moving on down here, we have our ruler that shows the different areas of the time code here. Like I showed you before, we've got the playhead here, so we can move that back and forth. This whole area down here is our timeline. These are the separate timeline tracks here. Like I said, that was the playhead. These are all of our different areas, but these are all groups. So if I break these down and unnest them, you can kind of see how complicated some of this will get and how many things are contained and what goes into making some of this stuff. You'll see all of the different areas here. As we kind of zoom in here, you can also see this area here. This is going to be your keyframe tracks. And then of course your keyframe thumbnails as we go around. All right, so that's a quick look. And like I said, once we expand those, you can kind of see how complicated some of this stuff can get. But that's it for the quick overview here. Let's go ahead and show you some animation stuff and show you how you actually put this to use. All right, so the first thing I want to show you is just how to draw a traditional frame-by-frame hand-drawn animation using the flipbook. Now, if you've used the animation app in Procreate before, basically works the same way. Of course, Dreams being an animation app, though, you're going to have a lot more options to kind of polish your finished project. But we're just starting out here with a new project, 4K widescreen movie. And we're going to go down here to tap on the Paint and Draw. And you'll see that tool then fires us up. The backstage and stage changes a little bit here. And then I've got this gray bar in between the black and white split that I'm going to grab and pull down. You'll see that gives us almost a full screen drawing canvas here. We've got our flip book down at the bottom. Each of these rectangles represents a different frame of the animation. We've got all of our drawing tools here, our brush settings here, and then of course our time code here, which I'm going to tap that and then show onion skin here. So for this animation, I'm just gonna draw a bouncing ball. I know it's super simple, super easy, but this gives you an idea very quickly of how this works. So just like in Procreate, 2 fingers to pinch and zoom and move your canvas around, and we'll just draw an oval for our ball. And then we're gonna tap on the next frame. And as you see, as I tap, it changes from blue to yellow because I have yellow set for the onion skin. So the yellow shows us where our previous frame was at to help us position our next frame. And then we just tap again, kind of move the canvas around as we need to, and then just continue that process to add frames. To get to the bottom here, I'll start bringing the ball back up, and then I'm just going to have it not go as high on this series. Just moving the canvas as I go. Pull that one down a little bit since it's not going to bounce as high. Make that one a little bit bigger. And then I can start drawing off the screen into that backstage area now. So this is not going to show up, but that little part will. Once I'm done, I'll just hit done and hit play, and you can see our ball rolling and bouncing there. Now it's moving a little bit fast, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to tap on the name of the project to bring open the properties here, and I'm going to change that frames per second from 24 down to 12, and it's going to slow this down quite a bit. So now you can kind of see the bouncing action that ball takes. If I go ahead and hit 4 fingers on the screen, it's going to bring it full screen, and you can kind of see that animation. So now that that's done, let's go ahead and hit back here to bring us back to our regular view. And I'm going to show you now how to use a different technique using the performing tool to make the exact same animation or something close to it. All right, so now we're back to an empty project here, and the next thing I want to show you is how to create that same bouncing ball animation using the performing tool. So here, basically what's going to happen is the Procreate Dreams app is going to record our performance or record us moving the Apple Pencil across the screen. And it's going to record that movement, and that's how it's going to animate. We don't have to draw each individual frame of that ball moving. The movement of our pencil is going to be the frames. So let's go ahead and hit the paint and draw here. We'll make the screen bigger, and I'll draw our one and only drawing here. We'll hit done, and we've got it on our screen. Now if I tap this, you'll see the action menu comes up. If we hit the playhead down here, and we get different options. For the move or motion, we have move and scale, we've got warp and distort. We're going to be using the move and scale with this one. I'll show you the other ones here shortly in the next example or two. And then we want to hit the performing tool. You'll see this turns red. It's not recording right now, it just shows ready. It's not actually going to record our performance until we make contact with the Apple Pencil and the screen. So now that we've got that ready, once I touch down, I'm just going to start the bouncing movement. And then I hit done once I'm finished. As soon as you let up off the screen with the Apple Pencil, it stops recording. Hit done, and then hit play, and you can see there's our bouncy ball animation. We'll go ahead and bring it up to full screen with those 4 fingers. So there we go. So you can see just how quickly that happens. It just records those movements rather than that frame by frame flip book. So hopefully this kind of gets your brain working, thinking of ways that you can animate your own artwork using the performing technique. This speeds up things so much. So let's take a look at more of what that performing can do. All right, so next up, I want to show you how you can use the performing tool in Procreate Dreams and combine that with a layered design that you've already made in Procreate. So we're going to go ahead and go split screen here with Procreate. And I've got this cute little mushroom cartoon that I made with my retro cartoon creator pack. It's a stamp pack for Procreate. It's available on Gumroad. Links in the description if you want to check it out. But each of the components of this design are all on separate layers. So each arm and hand, separate layer, leg and foot, so on and so forth. Key here, number 1, all separate layers. Number 2, having the background color turned off. So it's got a transparent background. We're going to go back to the gallery view. And this is where kind of the magic happens with Savage making both of the apps, because we can hold down on Procreate here and drag and drop into Procreate Dreams. And there's our mushroom inside Procreate Dreams. We of course just need to resize him a little bit. Make him a little bit smaller there. Now, right now, all of the layers are all in the same group. It's all one, so we can't manipulate everything individually, but we can change that fairly easy just by holding down on the track, and we want to select Convert Layers to Tracks. So what this is going to do now, if we expand these groups, you can see each of those separate layers is its own track, so we can manipulate all those and perform with all those separately. So let's go ahead and start at the bottom here with this hand. So we'll bring the playhead back to the beginning. I'm going to zoom in a little bit so we can see better. And there's a couple things we need to do before we start. So if we tap on this to select, first we need to hit the 3 dots here. We need to edit the anchor. So the pivot point on this is always going to be right in the center. We need to bring that back up here where that's going to attach to the body. Now that we've got that set, we can go ahead and hit the performing here. Last step that we need to do is we need to hit this red node right here. If you've got one of the newer iPad Pros with hover, you can hover over that to open it up, but we need that curved line. We've got that then. We're just going to hold down on the 3 dots and we're just going to slide this back and forth to record the movement option with the arm. We can do that for however long we want to. Once we're done with that, then we can go up to the other arm. We'll bring the playhead back to the beginning. We need to, once again, hit the 3 dots here to edit the anchor and move that to where it attaches to the body. Hit the performing, that node again to bring up that curve, and then holding down here, we'll record that movement of that arm. We'll stop once the other one stops. Okay. And back to the feet. Once again, it's kind of cheesy and done really quick. So obviously I would spend more time on this if I was doing a full animation, but I just want to show you more the technique than anything else. So edit the anchor back up here where it connects, hit the performing, bring that out, and then we can start to bring movement to that leg. And then the other leg. Playhead back to the beginning, 3 dots, edit anchor, bring that where it connects, performing, bringing out the anchor. And here I kind of need to get the legs to go opposite each other. I don't want them going the same direction. All right, so those are all done. Now, of course, he's using this walk cycle, but he's not actually walking or moving anywhere. So we need to move him from one side of the screen to the other. And so far we've been doing it with individual tracks, but now we need to do everything all at once. So I'm going to select the group, and you can see now the red rectangle is around everything. So I'm going to bring the playhead here back to the beginning. I want to turn off the performing right now because I want him to start outside of the stage. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit the performing button. I'm going to hold down and keep him right there until everything starts to actually move. I'm going to bring him then across the screen there and a little bit more. All right, now we're going to bring the playhead back to the beginning and hit play. You'll see our little guy walking right across the screen. We can go 4 fingers here to make it bigger. The cool thing here is too, with the playhead and what's visible on the timeline, if we've got this whole thing, even though we hit play here, he kind of stopped over here, it's still got all of this. So if we want to just loop what we've done, if we zoom in here, what's visible on the timeline is going to be what loops. So once it gets down to the end here, you're going to see it's just going to loop back. It's not going to play all that extra stuff at the end. So he loops back every single time. Of course, we can adjust the timeline as well and drag these from the end if we want to make it shorter. But this makes editing really nice and easy, especially coming from like Premiere Pro. If you're trying to really zone in on a certain section and you're zoomed in really far and that playhead goes back, then you got to zoom out, bring that playhead back. And here, that loop of what's visible is just fantastic as far as trying to really fine tune everything. You can also see here that all of the keyframes show up underneath. So if you need to manually adjust these, you can drag them into a different position. You can also go in here and tapping them, you can actually adjust numerically where they sit. Or if you hold down, you can set easing or delete the keyframe all together. So that shows you a really quick, simple kind of walk cycle. Of course, we could put a background behind there too and make that move like I talked about before, which actually I'm going to show you in the next step using that whole backstage area and how you can use that to your advantage. So let's go ahead and do that next. All right, for this next section, we're going to start out just like we did with the previous. We're going to go split screen with Procreate. I've got this other Gnome character done. Made this with my Gnome creator pack for Procreate. Once again, links in the description below for that. And I've got the different layers divided down. Also, once again, background needs to be transparent. That's key. Going back to the gallery, we'll drag and drop him over into Dreams. And then just need to shrink him down. Oops. There we go. And I want a background on him, so I'm going to hit plus for a new content track. And we'll drag this down underneath. I'm going to go to my draw and paint. We'll just drag and drop color in there. And then we'll make a new layer on top of that. Do some mountains with a darker blue. Mountains or hill. Let's just do hills. So we got some nice rounded ones here. Just gonna fill them in by hand. I was having a little problem with the color drop earlier, so just fill them in real quick. Just like that. And then one more new layer for the ground. I'll switch over to a lighter blue here for kind of the snow on the ground. You'll see I'm going outside of that stage. Once again, if it shows up on the backstage, it's not going to show up on the export. And once we go back here and hit done, you're going to see then that becomes a lot lowered opacity than the main. So next up, let's go ahead and do the animation part. So we're going to go to our Gnome. Once again, though, he's all one single track. So we need to hold down and convert layers to tracks. Then we can expand that group. And we'll start out with the hat. So bring the playhead to the start of the track here on the hat. And then tapping the playhead to bring the action menu up. I'm going to hit move, and then this time we're going to use warp. So you'll see now that we've got warp up, it's got different controls to where we can increase the number of the controls. So the higher the number, the more control you're going to have over an exact portion of the design. I'm going to leave them at 4 though, because we're not doing anything too crazy. I'm just going to grab the edge of the hat here and just kind of have it blowing in the wind. Really basic animation. If you watched my Procreate Dreams announcement video from London, this is the same technique that I used on the little girl in the scarf in that video. Now that that's done, we'll go to the beard, pull it back to the beginning, hit the playhead again, move, warp, and then we'll just move the beard here. It's like we got a slight breeze going on that the wind's blowing his beard and his hat at the same time. All right, now that we've got that done, I want to add one more step of animation, which is going to be the snow, and it's going to show you how the backstage works. So I want to go ahead and make a new layer on top of everything. So I'm going to select the group here, plus for a new layer. And then we'll bring the playhead back to the beginning. And now I want to draw. And with this, I'm going to zoom out quite a bit because I'm going to use a lot of this backstage. The snow I want to have coming down is going to be the animated part, but this background being white, I'm not going to be able to see the snow. So I'm going to change that background color to a pretty dark color. I'm going to change this to white. And then my brush, I'm going to go ahead and use Blackburn for this, and we'll just make some snow here really quick. So we'll just have the snow coming down, just different pressures here for the snow. And then once I get everything here inside of the stage, then that's when I'm going to move on to the backstage. So I'm going to start the snow up in here. And then I'll go ahead and time lapse this just so you can see the process without having to watch it in real time. And then I'll come back and we'll animate it. All right, so as you can see, I went pretty far up with that snow. I could have gone up even further, but now it's time to animate it. So we're gonna go ahead and hit our action button here, move. I wanna move and scale. And then we'll hit our record. And then as this records, see I'm just moving the pencil down and kind of back and forth. When I let up, it stops. That lets me reposition the pencil, and then I can continue with the snow. Just like that. All right, bringing the playhead back to the beginning then, and going 4 fingers to go full screen. And then you can watch the snow fall, and the beard, and the hat kind of move back and forth. So hopefully that gives you a pretty good idea of how to use that backstage, and the fact that we had that coming clear up there at the top and moving down. Once again, this is done really fast, really cheesy. The quality of this is not something that I would necessarily put out there, but it gives you the idea of what you can do. So there we go. That's it for the animation side of things. Now, finally, let's go ahead and kind of look at how you can use this unconventionally using a video and combining that with motion graphics. All right, so finally I want to show you how to add some animation to a live action video by making the intro to this video that you're watching right now. So you've already seen this finished product. It was at the beginning of this video. I've not seen it. All I've got is the raw footage. We're going to watch me make it right now, but just a really quick and easy way to add motion graphics to your live videos using Procreate Dreams. So let's get in that raw footage first. We're going to hit the plus button. Import from photos, brings open our camera roll. We're gonna select the video, add, and you'll see it comes in really quick here. 4K video, about a minute long, and it's really snappy. So let me hit play here. Today marks the start of the 3rd full week in November, which means you can hear the sound plays along with the video. And as you scrub through the video, the audio scrubs as well. I know a lot of people had that question on the video where I posted the announcement from London, and this really helps as far as adding keyframes, making sure everything matches up with the animation to the audio. So syncing like that, really, really key, and that's cool that they added that feature as well. So let's go ahead then. I'm gonna bring this back to the beginning. I'm gonna turn down the sound. All right, and we're ready to add in some animation. So first thing I need to do is add a new track on top of the video track. So we're gonna make a new content track. And then I'm gonna hit my draw and paint tool here. We'll bring open this, pulling down to go full screen here. And we've got our flip book here. And you can see as I go through the flip book, it also advances the frames of the video itself, which helps you kind of match stuff up when you're using drawing with video. So that's cool there. Let me go ahead and switch my brush. I'm gonna go to, let's go probably luminance and use light pen for this. And then I'm gonna change my color to, let's start out with kind of a neon green. And I think here in the background, I've got this pipe for our AC unit. I'm gonna just kind of go down this pipe and go around these masks on the wall and then back up. So we'll start up here, bring down the line, tap here, and you can see I didn't turn on onion skins yet, so I need to hit the time code here, show onion skin. We'll just continue this line down and around, and I'll kind of wrap them around these masks on this side, and then as I get lower, we'll go ahead and bring it back up the opposite side. So we're around Hellboy there from Trick or Treat Studios. Next one, Dr. Ilbit, a Jordan Patton mask. If anybody watching is a fan of Face Off, Jordan was on season 9, season 13 of Face Off, and owns Dead Neck Studios. Next up, we've got the Moon Goon mask, which is a Shelly Moth original. Shelly's another YouTuber that does mask tutorials here on the platform, so really cool stuff. And maybe we'll go up and around this and then back down. So this is just kind of a repeat process. So I'm going to go ahead and once again time lapse this, and we'll be back here shortly to explain the next step. All right, so now that we're done then, let me hit done here. We'll go back to the main screen, pull the timeline to the beginning and hit play. And watch that go down and back up. But of course, the video is still going. That's only a very small section of the video. So I'm gonna go ahead over here and grab my timeline edit tool. We'll highlight all of these by circling them, and then holding down, I'm gonna group these. So they're all in one group. Now I'm gonna hold down on the top here, and then I'm gonna duplicate, and then same thing, go to this one. Maybe I can do it from that one, I don't know. We will duplicate this one again. And once again, just gonna time lapse this. All right, now that we're done here, let me go ahead and hit 4 fingers to go full screen. We'll hit play. And you can watch that just kind of loop back and forth. So now that we're done with that, let's go ahead and work on this right-hand side and kind of do the same thing here. So I'm gonna pull the timeline back. We're gonna make another new track here, content track, and then we'll go to draw. I'm gonna pull down, and then we'll change the color of this one and maybe go with kind of a bright pinkish purple color. And then here we'll just go down, I think maybe just down this line right here, the split of the wall. So I'll start to bring that line down, and once again, just tapping on that flip book each time to do a new frame. Now I want to pull back a little bit so you can see as I hit the next frame here, not only does the video move, but the frame over here for the other animation moves as well. So all of your live tracks, they're gonna follow each frame as you go along. So let me time lapse this, and I will be back here in a second. All right, so we're done. Let's go ahead and bring the playhead back here, hit play, and you can watch that go around and back up. Now, one thing here that I do want to show you is, let's go ahead, once again, we'll highlight all of these, we'll group those together. Now, by tapping on that playhead, we already brought up the action menu and used the move function when we were doing the performance mode, but here we can also add keyframes with a filter. So here we have our live filters menu. We've got opacity, Gaussian blur, sharpen, noise, and HSB, which is hue, saturation, and brightness. So let me tap that one, and we'll go ahead and set a keyframe there, and then we'll bring the playhead down here to the end. I'm going to tap that again for the hue, saturation, and brightness, and we'll change this to kind of the bright blue. All right, and now what I'm going to do is bring that playhead back to the beginning, and I want you to watch this again as it goes down. You'll see it changes color. So it starts out with that pink and then starts to shift into that blue. So a very cool way that you can add some extra filter effects. Now I'm going to basically do the same thing here as I did previously. We're going to pause this, and I'm going to just duplicate this track repeatedly until we're at the end. And then once again, just kind of time lapse this and be back here shortly once we're done. All right, now that we're done, we'll go ahead and hit 4 fingers here to bring it up full screen. Scrub this back to the beginning here and hit play. We have that looping effect in the background on both sides. So there we go. Quick and easy-ish motion graphics using Procreate Dreams. All right, so that's it for my extended early pre-release look at Procreate Dreams. But before I ended out the video, I wanted to answer a few viewer questions from that London announcement video. And I think the most common question next to what iPads is this gonna work on is the question about lip syncing. Any character lip sync capabilities here? Do you know if they have the lip sync option where you can sync the mouth animation with the sound? Is there any short for lip syncing? And unfortunately, the answer is no. There's no lip syncing option, so you're gonna have to animate this the old-fashioned way, matching up the keyframes of the mouth with the sound. Next up, will I be able to use Dreams on multiple iPads? I switch Procreate back and forth between my iPads, so the answer here, just like anything else you download from the App Store, is yes. As long as you're logged into that same Apple account, you're good to go. Did they say how long of an animation sequence will be possible? This really is just gonna rely on the storage that your iPad has. More or less, the only limitations that you're going to see is, like I talked about earlier with the different iPad models, the number of content tracks are limited in between 100 to 200, and then the number of video tracks is limited in between 1 to 4, depending on that iPad model. As far as the length, though, that's going to depend on your storage. And with the limited number of video tracks, I really don't see Procreate Dreams as a replacement for video editing software. It's definitely not a video editing solution. Now, if you film everything with one camera in one shot in one take, yeah, feel free to go for it. But I know most of us, we have multiple takes, we have multiple camera angles and multiple files that make up one video. We've got to switch between those tracks, and Procreate Dreams, definitely not the solution for that. The other thing to keep in mind too, Procreate Dreams is non-destructive. Even after you close back and go out to theater mode, when you go back in, you can still undo, which means that it saves your full video size, the original size. So even if you edit that down, you shorten it way down, whatever it was originally is going to be the size that it's saved at on the iPad in the Procreate Dreams file. So definitely keep that in mind too. All right, so hopefully that clears some things up. And that, my friends, brings us to the end of today's very, very long video. As always, I appreciate you guys watching. If you like today's video too, make sure you give it a thumbs up. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, make sure you do that. Hit that bell for notifications so you can get alerted when I post new videos. Because man, is there gonna be a lot of new videos when Procreate Dreams comes out. I'll be doing a bunch of new tutorials, so if you want to learn the program from the ground up, definitely subscribe to the channel and hit that bell. Also, let me know down in the comments, are you getting Dreams? Are you excited? And what's that one feature that you really can't wait to try out? I want to hear what you have to say, so definitely sound off down below. As for me, I can be found online, bjdell.com, as well as on all the socials at bjdell. So until next time, keep creating.